In the village of Great Pelfe, people on both sides of a development deal are dropping like flies. Can Barnaby build a case against anyone? Because it's about building.
Ha 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 ha. Ha.
Everyone's a critic. We are talking election politics.
The history of urban planning.
And Barnaby getting a little too smug in this episode of.
Welcome to Midsummer.
Hello, and welcome to Midsomer, the podcast where we dissect all the mysteries, the murders, and the many weird things about the long running hit TV show, Midsummer Murders. I'm your host, Eric Buscher, and with me, as always, is my co host, Eileen Becker. Hey, Eileen.
Hey, Eric, we are talking about Not in My Backyard, the seventh episode of the 13th series. It originally aired January 12th, 2011. It was directed by Peter Smith and written by J.C. Wilshire. Let's get our slingshots.
Do you remember when they used to do like 8 episodes of the show a year? All right. Spoiler warning, we will be discussing the events of this episode, including the identity of the murderer. So if you haven't watched it yet and don't want to know who done it, pause this and go watch it. You'll still be here when you get back.
You think by opening this eyesore to the public you might win some sort of approval? Well, you are so wrong. Because it should never have been built in the first place. And I have to tell you that the Midsummer Conservation Society will oppose your plans to further vandalize this village by any means necessary.
My dear Maureen, why would I want to vandalize the village? I've made my home here. My mother was a local girl.
But your father could have been any passing tinker, couldn't he?
It's garden day in Great Pelfe, and that means Tom and Joyce Barnaby are out and about seeing all the fancy homes and yards. They stop in the Swanscombe house, a very modern looking home owned by developer Norman Swanscombe and his wife Eleanor. Building the home angered the Village Conservation Society, who want everything to basically stay in the past. They are now upset at Swanscombe's latest upscale modern development project, and leader Maureen Stubbs insults builder Jeff Rogers, Planning Commission members James Otley and Liz Gerard, architect Cliff Bunting, and Swanscombe at the party, even throwing a drink at Bunting. Barnaby has to help hold people back. So much for a day off. Barnaby chats with David Walsh, a retired Special Forces major who is a part of the Conservation Society, as well as running in the local election. He wants to stop the development, claiming that the only reason Swanscombe House passed the planning committee is because of corruption. But Gerard claims that the committee did everything the right way and that the conservationists are just against progress, which, accurate. Swanscombe is also running in the election as a candidate for change. That night, Maureen approaches Swanscombe House, but someone stabs her to death with a broken wine bottle. The next morning, Barnaby, Jones, and Stevens are called to the scene. Swanscombe says that Maureen called him last night and was coming over to show him something, but she never showed up and he had no idea what she wanted to show him. They didn't hear her arrive or die. Maureen had commented about Swanscombe's father at the party, and he explains that his pregnant mother left Midsummer for London when she was 18, and he doesn't know who his biological father was, Swanscombe being his stepfather's last name. He doesn't believe that Maureen would be killed over local politics. Swanscombe has been the target of death threats and vandalism, with the detectives finding evidence that Maureen was behind at least the property destruction. Walsh says that there are alien elements at work in the village, and he spent time with the former council leader to learn how to stop them. He's treating his campaign like a sacred duty. The development deal passes the planning committee meeting, and Otley asks Gerard out for a drink, but she brushes him off and instead heads out to a model home to meet up with a married Rogers for some sexy time. Conservationist Angela Lawrence claims to know nothing about the vandalism, but if Maureen was doing it, she would have kept it quiet to protect the group. They return to talk to Swanscombe, who is busy yelling at Rogers to fix his broken electric sliding door. They suggest he caught Maureen trying to vandalize the house again and killed her, but he denies it. Rogers goes to Bunting, who starts blackmailing him over his dirty secrets. That night at Bunting's house, he listens to a message from Swanscombe threatening him while someone watches from the bushes. The next day, Barnaby and Jones arrive at his home and discover it has been broken into and his papers gone through. Swanscombe and Walsh then appear at an election event. Swanscombe claims he has no financial interest in the upcoming development, and then Angela calls him a murderer and then threatens more actions against him. Not a great look. Walsh then claims that an unknown whistleblower shared secret plans that showed the progressive development is actually a cover to build a shopping center. with Rogers, Bunting, Gerard, and Swanscombe all involved. But he doesn't actually have the evidence, saying that Maureen had it and someone murdered her to get it. Swanscombe denies these charges, but doesn't want Barnaby to snoop through his files to kind of clear himself either. They talk to Otley, who also denies everything, saying Liz has private income and he works as a local vet, so they don't need money. And also, he would report any attempt to bribe him. He has no alibi for Maureen's murder, though. Barnaby then visits Fiona Conway, who sold Swanscombe the land for his big development and is possibly having an affair with him. Conway claims that Walsh doesn't care about conservation. He's just angry that Conway wouldn't sell him the land to build vacation homes. She also claims he is into Angela, but Angela's manipulating him because she's actually a lesbian. She claims Swanscombe is just a straight arrow, straight as an honest, and maybe as sexual. Over at Swanscombe's house, Bunting lets himself in and attempts to fix the electric door, but someone uses the fuse box to trap him in the door and suffocate him. Tourist info. This is our first and only time in Great Pelfe, a town that is dedicated to keeping things like they were in the past, when life was simpler and easier, and everyone knew their place in society, and women couldn't vote. Okay, not that far back, but pretty far back. Feel free to visit the closed post office, the government offices, and Swanscombe's house. Take home a free empty bottle of wine as our gift to you.
Standing in for Swanscombe House is Longview in Henley-on-Thames. Built in 2006 by Avanti Architects for Susie and Ulrich Gerhartz. It is next door to the house her parents commissioned from famed Welsh modernist architect Patrick Gwynne. That house, called Pass Field, was built in 1960 and is now a Grade II heritage-listed building. Just don't tell Maureen or Joyce about that house.
So our first strange kill in this episode, I don't really count Maureen's.
No, that's pretty standard. I mean, other than the bottle being broken, it's a pretty standard stabbing.
Yep. Is death by door. Cliff Bunting, he is killed when an electronic sliding glass door is rigged to trap him and then suffocate him. He is trapped because he's trying to reach the remote control and then puts his head through a narrow opening like an idiot. How did the killer know he would put his head through it?
Yeah, it seems very unlikely. I guess is the word.
I mean, was the killer there planning to, why was the killer there? Was the killer just planning to kill him anyways, and that was just, oh, this seems like a fun, dumb way to die?
Maybe. There may have been another broken wine bottle in her backpack.
That said, we do watch Bunting suffocate to death violently, and I was actually a little shocked by the graphicness of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who say, oh, it wasn't that graphic during the Nettles period, but it was pretty graphic at some times.
It was, well, I mean, going all the way back to the beginning when we heard the psycho stabbing and the blood spray and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but you didn't actually see the knife going in. Whereas here, we actually do see him kind of being crushed, his see and kind of the life kind of going out of him. We also, with Maureen's murder, you hear these crunches and cracks as the bottle is stabbing her, right?
Yeah.
It was really right off the bat, I was going, did we need all that? I don't think so.
But still, death by sliding glass door is pretty up there as far as strange kills.
Oh yeah. Also, did you notice when Maureen's body is found the next day, her hands in that weird sort of gripped rigor?
Yeah. And I was wondering about that, because it looks like she was holding something.
Like a file. Because she held on to because that's the first thing you do is when you're getting stabbed with a wine bottle, you're going to hold on to that file.
Well, there is apparently when you are under stress, you do have a tendency to clench your fists. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. So the big theme of this episode is like the theme for many Midsomer episodes. It's old versus new, progress versus the past. We've seen this a number of times already, and we're not even halfway done through the season. People in Midsomer really do not like change.
They don't, and living in a somewhat small town, it's very. I mean, these people don't even like the bike paths they put in.
I would be okay if they were accepting change if it meant that they maybe weren't in like such a murderous hellhole. Walk outside, you don't know if you're going to be like the second person in a triple homicide or not, right? I will say is that when we see the interiors of sort of say something like Maureen's house, where
Mhm,
it's much more of a traditional and
mhm,
nice and cramped,
mhm.
I kind of prefer that over the look of Swanscomb's house because that felt a little too modern for me.
It looked very, very sterile, and normally when people are living in a place, it's not quite that. Those were when I looked at the shots online, it looked like a lot of those shots, that they were making. I like the look of the house. I could not live in a house like that because I am way too messy for that kind of thing,
Yeah,
and the house would probably slap me and say, "I have clean lines. What is this pile of junk that's on the table here?"
yeah. The Swanscombe house too modern for me. Which is ironic because I was much more. I liked the development mafia much more than the conservation society, who I thought were really kind of either arrogant or mean.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I see both angles because, like I said, I live in this small town. My house is 150 some odd years old. So, I do like an old house. I do appreciate the aesthetics of a modern house, though, as long as it's done well, not like McMansion kind of stuff.
I like something that feels a little lived in. I don't like the sterileness of like
Mhm.
most modern
Mhm.
apartments or houses. I like something with a little personality.
Mhm.
Um, what did you think about Walsh's comments about an alien agenda?
You know,
Didn't like that.
yeah, the whole alien agenda sounds a little too timely.
Yeah, a little. It just struck the wrong we don't like we like things that we like the things the way they are. Also kind of like reminds you of just like this was still the period of Midsummer where it was all pretty white.
It was very white, yeah. Yeah.
um so and I know that there's a lot of arguments about like has Midsummer become very woke, and I'm just like it's just added people that live in England.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also thought it was weird, like when Gerard is talking to Barnaby, and she just sort of assumes that Barnaby would be down with the development people, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
He is an aging police detective. You'd think he'd be more on the conservationist side,
Yeah.
or was she trying to seduce him?
Or she just assumes that everybody agrees with her unless they're insane.
Yeah. And then at Garden Day, it was
Mhm.
we had a Garden Day in this episode, and we've had Garden Days in other episodes. We never really talked about it too much. Do you have garden days where you live?
Yeah, actually we do. And
Okay.
my neighbors have been in it. I've been invited to be in the historic homes tour, but
Hmm.
it's never been at a convenient time for me. So we have both of those kinds of things. But yeah, garden days are usually kind of fun because you get ideas and then, look at your own yard and say, that's way too much work. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Well, we don't. I mean, we don't have gardens here anywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a big garden.
call it a park, and you can't actually garden there. We only get to really spend time with Clifford in the first half of this episode, but man, Clifford Munting, what a fun character.
I think the actor did have a lot of fun playing him.
Clearly, I mean, he gets to be a snob, like a
Yeah,
really pompous snob, who like at various points he calls people Philistines, pillocks, or old bags,
yeah, yeah.
and he kind of deserved that drink he got in the face.
He did merit that, yeah.
But I also kind of love that there's an irony there that he can't even afford the houses he designs.
Which is weird because architects who make those kind of buildings or design those kind of buildings make a lot of money.
Right. Also, why would you design like also then if you're designing the kind of building that you can't afford, why would you be doing it in Midsummer?
Yeah.
That's not really where the big money area is, buddy.
Yeah. Now I can see where he had like designed it and had taken this place for temporary quarters and has a place in London, which is where most architects were going to be.
Yeah.
Um,
I loved it when he said, "My last wife."
yeah.
It's like, oh, who's going to be the next lucky lady? How do you think he slept through his house getting burgled?
Well, we know that the person was kind of, you know, experienced at sneaking around. So I guess they were quiet enough. I've slept through things that I've kind of wondered how I slept through them.
But I mean, like they were like going through files, like throwing
Hmm.
stuff. Like it's not soundless. It's just,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it could be quiet, but it's not the same thing as like Santa dropping presents.
yeah. I think it depends on what phase of sleep you're in. If you're in like deep sleep or REM, those are hard to wake from. Yeah.
And I kind of like that Bunting the Snob. Did you see like his like weird T-shirt
Oh,
that
I loved
he
his
was?
shirt. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he slept in. That's what the Snob sleeps in. I was like, look, I dress like this only in private. I did, and I love the line he said, "Blimey, you lot are losing your grip around here." Towards Barnaby.
Yeah. Does he know the murder rate in Midsomer? They've never had their grip.
All right, so since so much of this is about the design of a village,
Mhm.
we thought we would do the history of urban planning.
Yeah.
So Eileen, take it away.
Now, we tend to think of urban planning as something modern, done by committees of citizens with an overarching view of what their town should look like, but we have evidence of fixed plans for cities and towns all over the world from several ancient civilizations. Minoan, Mesopotamian, Egyptian, Chinese, and Indus Valley Harappan cities were often designed with grid patterns as well as large spaces for public buildings and squares. Major boulevards and residential streets were laid out with many considerations in mind, including sanitation, traffic management, and defense. For centuries, the 5th century Greek philosopher Hippodamus of Miletus was considered the first town planner, and Aristotle even called him the father of city planning. But this is now known not to be true, though Aristotle's ridicule of Hippodamus in his treatise Politics may be the earliest example of criticism of urban planning. Aristotle's student, Alexander the Great, however, used the Hippodamian grid when he laid out his new city of Alexandria in Egypt. As the Romans established colonies around the Mediterranean and Western Europe, they also used the grid plan, which was standard at the time for new towns. Hilly and uneven terrain was often a challenge for this type of layout, though in both Rome and the newly founded Constantinople, wide boulevards were incorporated in order for the occasional triumphant march into the city to occur. In feudal Japan, castle towns grew up, in which cities centered themselves around a defensive stronghold. As the western half of the Roman Empire fell, this became a standard setup in medieval Europe, as towns were more concerned about defense as waves of invaders threatened. The grid pattern was still used when possible, but anyone who has roamed the Gothic quarters of cities like Barcelona will know those grids were sometimes just a suggestion. As Europe moved into the Renaissance period, the classical traditions of city layouts made a comeback, with their precise grids. A star-shaped spoked layout was also developed, as forts and city walls developed new star forts designed to resist cannon fire. Florence and Palma Nova in Italy are a couple of examples of this, with wide boulevards running to the center of town from gates in the city walls. City planning was also a subject that artists found of interest, and many, such as Raphael, portrayed idealized views of cities in their paintings. These utopian cities often had a uniformity of look that has influenced city planning ever since. Cities in Europe at this time were also undergoing some urban renewal to incorporate wider streets and beautiful public spaces to show off the money and power of their rulers. They often used disasters such as fire, earthquakes, and military bombardment as excuses to redesign old cities and make them into more livable and sanitary places. Lisbon was redesigned on these principles after the great earthquake destroyed much of the old city. These grand designs often had to be compromised as residents and merchants wanted a fast rebuilding of the cities, so cities like Brussels and London only partially incorporated their planned revisions. The designs for London by architects such as Christopher Wren were incorporated into New World cities such as Savannah, Georgia, with its wide streets and regular city squares laid out in a grid. As cities grew in the 18th century, however, some of these ideas were incorporated into older cities, which which is why you see these wide gridded streets with public squares next to older, narrow streets in cities such as Barcelona and Edinburgh. These reflected the needs of the growing merchant class and eventually incorporated trams, streetcars, and other public transportation. City planning was now an actual occupation. From condensed, defensible towns centered around a sacred or public site or square, cities began to sprawl outward. Washington, D.C. is one of the many purpose-built capital cities that have sprung up over the centuries as governments used design to clearly delineate the seat of power surrounded by monuments and public parks. Another type of designed city are company towns, in which buildings and stores were all owned and run by the company where almost everyone was employed. Coal towns sprung up around mines, and Pullman, Illinois was built by railroad magnate George Pullman, while Fordlandia was built in the Amazon rainforest by the Ford Motor Company to harvest rubber. But as some cities embraced new trends, others let tenements and slumlords run wild. The concept of garden cities, satellite communities surrounded by green spaces, was one answer to this issue, as eventually urban renewal set its sights on blighted spaces. In the 1850s, Paris tore down much of its old medieval city to build large boulevards lined with buildings with a consistent look, those mansard roofs, fountains, parks, and monuments. Updating public sanitation services was also part of the plan. The Great Stink of 1858 inspired London to also update its sewage system. Urban rivers continue to be the subject of cleanup campaigns, with the Seine finally becoming swimmable again in recent years. In the early 21st century, modernism attempted to solve many of the problems of urban life with skyscraper blocks. Architect Le Corbusier proposed bulldozing central Paris north of the Seine to build his contemporary city of 60-story cruciform tower blocks. Fortunately, this didn't happen, but the concept was used in many cities for public housing. Jane Jacobs' 1961 book, The Death and Life of American Cities, was highly critical of this approach to city life, as it destroyed the neighborhoods which she felt was so important to a thriving, vibrant city. At this time, the automobile was emerging as the most important transportation innovation, putting the power of movement on individuals. Suburbs and bedroom communities grew at an enormous rate, filling in the green spaces between cities and their surrounding communities. Today, the emphasis is on sustainability, walkability, and neighborhood character. Small towns try to balance growth while retaining their unique character. City planners try to expand their tax base while meeting the needs of their residents. Developers eye any unused space with greedy eyes while residents look for affordable housing. Will the trend towards sustainable, walkable cities continue? Only the Jetsons know.
I'm surprised you didn't mention what's his name, the power broker,
Robert Morris.
Robert Morris. Considering he's like, I think especially like his battles with Jacobs over like sort of
Yeah,
the soul of New York City was a big, he sort of he helped define the modern city for good and bad. He was a very
yeah,
uh, uh,
yeah.
problematic figure.
Yeah, I talked about him when we talked about public domain because he used that a lot to basically redefine, especially large parts of Manhattan, um, and just kind of trying to condense this down so it's not a list of names of city planners was a little difficult, but he was a
Sounds like
very
an
much
excuse to me, Eileen.
but he was very much an influence. I mean, I also had planned on putting in the Chicago Fire and the redevelopment there, but there's so much. It's such a huge subject
Yeah.
because cities are everywhere. I mean, it's a subject that's several millennia old.
All right, you want to take us to cast highlights?
Sure. Alistair Petrie was snooty architect Clifford Bunting. Petrie is one of those actors who seem to be in everything. He's appeared in Sex Education, Rogue One, and The Night Manager. He worked with the actor Connor Swindells on Sex Ed, playing his father on the show. He became so close that Petrie officiated Swindells' wedding. He is currently playing Claudius in the National Theatre's production of Hamlet. Hugo Spear played cheating builder Jeff Rogers. Spear appeared in The Full Monty, Father Brown, The Three Musketeers, and Marcella. Spear was accused of inappropriate conduct on the set of the TV show follow-up to The Full Monty in 2022. He claimed a female runner had walked into his trailer when he was naked, and he was not aware they were there. But after an investigation, he was fired and written off the show. He has not been in anything else on screen since. David Annan played your local candidate, Major David Walsh. He's appeared on Law and Order UK, An Adventure in Space and Time, Shetland, and The Crown. He also does a lot of video game voice work, including The Witcher 3, where he played Barnabas Basil Fawlty. I don't
Get
get
it?
that. I
Basil Fawlty
Fawlty Towers.
Towers. Yeah,
Okay.
quite clearly, I think it's an inside joke in the
Hmm.
in the Witcher game.
Okay. Dorothy Atkinson was unlucky in love Angela Lawrence. She's a regular of director Mike Leigh, appearing in 4 of his films. She also appeared in Mum, Call the Midwife, and Ludwig. Her nickname is Dot. Yeah, I remember her in Ludwig, which if you haven't had a chance to
Oh,
watch
it's
that,
great.
it's really great.
It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yep.
I think Midsomer fans would really like it.
Oh yeah, and Midsummer fans, Osmond fans. It is definitely like the kind of the current zeitgeist of funny mystery.
Yeah. Joan Blackham played dead conservationist Maureen Stubbs. She appeared in Inspector Morse, Bridget Jones's Diary, and Chalky's Challenge. Polly Kemp was suffering wife Gemma Rogers. She's appeared in 4 Weddings and a Funeral, The Thick of It, and Les Miserables. Her husband is the actor Robert Whitelock, who has also done Midsummer. Jill Baker played campaign supporter Eleanor Swanscombe. She has a long career as a working character actress and appeared in Shakespeare in Love, Hope and Glory, Happy Valley, and Casualty. Ned Darrington was the stoned pizza boy. This was his first on-screen role, and he would go on to appear in Mr. Turner, Shakespeare and Hathaway, and Doctors. Hopefully not stoned.
Oh, I haven't seen any of those. Maybe.
I've seen him in Shakespeare and Hathaway, and I don't remember any stone characters in that, except
Well,
for
it just could have been like he could have just been on gummies. You know, you would know. We had a few return visitors this week. Dominic Maffam was our dumb in love James Otley. He is also in the episode Death of a Stranger. He's an RSC member who has appeared in Killing Eve, The English Patient, Golda, and Sniper Legacy, where he played a character named Guy Bulletface Bidwell. He has also appeared in every single episode of an Irish soap opera called The Clinic, which I believe is defunct now, but he played a womanizing, scheming, and manipulative British plastic surgeon named Diane Woodhouse. Linda Marlowe played rich stoner Fiona Conway. She's also in Who Killed Cock Robin. She's been in The Americanization of Emily, Mr. Love, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and Day of the Dead. She's also had a close association with the actor, writer, and director Stephen Burkoff, appearing in a number of his productions, and she has been called his muse by various critics. Now, Stephen Burkoff, some people might know him. He's like the bad guy in like 80s movies. He's like a bad guy in Octopussy. He's a bad guy in Beverly Hills Cop. But he is known for a thing called Berkovian theater, which he helped develop, and it's based on it combines various styles of movement and acting. And it's known for breaking lots of taboos and being very in your face. Marlowe has been working with him since the early 80s. Peter Egan was slightly unscrupulous Norman Swanscombe. We last saw him when we did Death of the Small Coppers. His first on screen role was in 1968's Cold Comfort Farm. He would go on to be in Chariots of Fire, Ever Decreasing Circles, Hold the Sunset, and Afterlife, as well as playing Hugh Shrimpy McClare, Marquess of Flintshire, in Downton Abbey. Marussia Frank played a council officer, and we will see her again in The Great and the Good. Now, Frank had a number of small acting credits in the 50s and 60s, including the classic film Marat Sade, but it looks like she took a ton of time off to be a wife and mother when she married legendary British actor Ian Richardson. Now, after his death in 2007, she returned to acting and has appeared she appeared in small roles in a lot of shorts and games before making her final appearance in the show Andor. She passed away in 2025. Christopher Sloman played a builder. He's also appeared in Midsummer Life. This is Sloman's last on-screen appearance, and he calls himself a failed actor on his LinkedIn page. And of course, a shout out to Anthony Farrelly and Mayor of Midsummer Chris Wilson for both playing uncredited police officers in this episode. Now, that leaves our village star this week is Amanda Drew, who played Black Widow Liz Gerard. Drew hails from Boston, England. There's a Boston, England. She's also a Rada grad. She's appeared in Broadchurch, Chernobyl, and Wednesday, but she is probably best known for her role on EastEnders, where she played Dr. May Wright, who is also known as Mad May or Psycho Doctor. She only was on the show for a couple years, but some of the stuff that she got herself into was she tried to steal a woman's baby through a cesarean section and then later blew herself up. She is considered one of the best EastEnder villains of all time. Now, most recently, you can see Drew on the show The Gold, which is now airing on Masterpiece Theater here in the States. She was great. She was clearly having a lot of fun with this role.
Yeah, definitely. I think overall, again, the cast is very strong here, down to Ian Richardson's wife as the woman who's announcing the results of the election.
Mhm.
Great job there.
She was clearly after he passed away. I think she was like friends and family were like, "Yeah, do you want to do some work? Like keep you." It almost feels like, "Do you want to do anything? Get yourself out of the house. Keep
Yeah,
yourself a little busy."
yeah. Just small roles just to kind of, give her
Yeah,
something to do. Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break here, and we'll be back in just a moment with the second half of Not in My Backyard.
You've been offered a seductive vision of the village's future. Unfortunately, this vision is a mere smokescreen. This will never be built. Detailed, secret plans already exist for a quite different development on the Pelfe Chase site. An out-of-town shopping centre will be built with parking for hundreds of vehicles, together with some low-rent social housing of poor quality, radically and permanently altering the character of our village.
And we're back. Let's talk about the second half of Not in My Backyard.
It's all right, sweetie, it's only the filth. It's not the drug squad, just a murder inquiry.
Bullard informs Barnaby and Jones that the cause of Bunting's death is like super freaking obvious, dudes. Swanscombe says that Bunting had his own set of keys to the house, and Barnaby quickly figures out what the killer did with the fuse box. Bunting was heavily in debt, and they discover a message he left on Swanscombe's phone mentioning Swanscombe's dirty linen. Jones finds a camera in Bunting's car with photos of buildings he has visited. Stevens discovers that some photos show Rogers and Gerard's affair, as well as Conway and Swanscombe spending time together. They first go to Rogers' house to talk to him, but his wife says he's out on business and doesn't know when he will be back. They are both then called to Gerard's house, where she has caught Walsh breaking in. The next day, Rogers' workers arrive at the office and find him dead in his car, buried up to his neck in cement. Bullard thinks the cement would have crushed his chest, making it impossible to breathe. Barnaby tells Walsh that two victims of his burglaries are now dead, so you might want to start talking there. Walsh admits he committed the burglaries, but not the murders. He says there isn't actually a whistleblower, but that Maureen and him found the plans when they broke into Roger's office. But the plans were really stolen when Maureen was murdered. He broke into the other offices thinking they had killed Maureen and hidden the evidence, but he couldn't find anything. Gerard admits to the affair and says she was going to meet with Rogers the previous night, but when he didn't show, she went home and that's when she caught Walsh. Meanwhile, Angela sounds stressed out on a phone call to a mysterious person who tells her to leave. Just as she is about to get out of town, the detectives arrive and stop her. She pretends to not know anything about Walsh's burglaries, but then they find a mysterious suitcase full of money. That's when Angela comes clean and says she wouldn't have killed Bunting and Rogers. They were paying her. They had hired her to discredit the Conservation Society and make it look like a bunch of extremists. She's the one who vandalized Swanscombe House and then put the evidence of that in Maureen's garage. But she also managed to copy the paperwork that Maureen and Walsh found, so now the police actually have the evidence of a criminal conspiracy. Turns out uh, they were right. There is a shady deal for the development, and that comes in handy since Walsh is out on bail and attending the final meeting before the election. He says the paperwork vindicates him and mitigates his burglaries. Swanscombe says he is shocked by this proof and says that he will still follow the original plans for the development. Otley looks stressed by everything, but Gerard is calm as the election begins. Looking further into Swanscomb's finances, the detectives don't find any evidence he was involved in the scam, but they do see that Conway did not sell him the land. She gave it to him for free. They find Swanscombe at her place and they admit that they are half brother and sister, biologically from the same father, but never knowing about the other until he moved back to Midsomer. So she gave her brother the land and kept it hidden out of deference to the memory of his mother. Bullard informs them that Rogers was given ketamine before he got the cement treatment, which means he would have been conscious but unable to move. Since ketamine is used by vets, they head over to Otley's office to question him. He claims not to be involved in the murders, but Barnaby reminds him that someone involved in this development conspiracy is covering their tracks. So it's not Otley, it's probably Gerard. And that's when Otley reveals that he did use ketamine to treat Gerard's horse, but left her alone with the drug for a moment when he went to his car. Gerard hasn't shown up to work or her home, and Otley admits that she spent the night with him and, oh so subtly, asked him about a jellyfish that can release a toxin that can cause a heart attack in someone and be practically undetectable. Uh oh. The detectives race over to City Hall where the votes are being counted. Gerard has already arrived and she's in her office, having pulled out a whiskey bottle from her bag. She calls Swanscombe to come up to the office and to celebrate with a drink. But just as he is about to knock one back, the police race in and Jones tackles him to knock the drink from his hand. Gerard tries to escape but is caught by Barnaby. We get the reveal. Gerard is, of course, the killer. She is deep into the conspiracy and being paid off by venture capitalists behind the whole shady business. She murdered Maureen to stop her from telling Swanscombe, who is actually innocent. While the others involved could bounce back from being outed, Gerard would have lost everything if the deal had been exposed. When Bunty began blackmailing her and Rogers, she killed him because Rogers couldn't. And that's when Rogers wanted out, so she killed him too, spiking her flask with ketamine so he would drink it, then filling the car with cement. Using ketamine and fish poison was supposed to point everything back to Otley. She is also the real person Angela was working for, and they are secretly lovers. In the end, Walsh wins the election and immediately seems to cozy up to Swanscombe, which just goes to show you that you can't ever trust the deep state. So we had a second strange kill, technically crushed by cement.
Mm-hmm.
Rogers is drugged with ketamine, and this is our second murder with that we've covered that involves ketamine.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then buried in concrete, which crushes his chest as it hardens. And so it's almost another form of suffocation.
Yeah.
One more suffocation, and that makes her a serial killer.
Yeah, that was a pretty brutal murder. Because this was a guy that she'd been having an affair with, and she just watches him watching her killing him slowly.
Yeah, she's a psychopath. I
Yeah.
mean, she's just like we'll talk about her in a minute, but like she's a straight up psychopath.
Yeah.
I found that death also kind of disturbing, especially the image that we see of Rogers with the cement, and it's
Mhm.
just kind of his head.
Mhm.
It was very disturbing.
Mhm.
We also had a strange near kill using fish poison. Gerard attempts to use toxin from a jellyfish to try and give Swanscombe a heart attack. So, fun fact, most jellyfish produce a toxin, but there are several lethal ones, like the Australian box jellyfish and the Arukandji jellyfish. Um, Now, I want to know, how did Gerard get that toxin? Like, does Otley just have like a vial of it laying around?
Maybe the same place she got the ketamine. I don't know, but yeah, those were definitely Chekhov's aquariums there.
It's like, you have to know how to extract it.
Mhm.
So again, how did she get it?
Well, he had extracted it because he explains that he wanted to use it. He thought he might use it as tried to use it as a gentle, way of putting down sick animals.
It gives people heart attacks. This is the worst vet ever.
Well,
Have you ever seen a more obvious sort of pumping for information? Oh, let's have this romantic moment. But first, do you know anything about fish that give out poison toxins? Tell me more about the fish killing, and then we'll have some sex.
She knows how to play guys.
She's a black widow.
Hmm.
She's a psychopath, a black widow. She is in it for I think she likes it for the danger.
Yeah.
Like, she describes Rogers as, like, she likes having sex with Rogers because he's very rough and it's kind of dangerous. But it
Mhm.
seems to me as like everyone is into Liz because they can sense that she is innately very dangerous.
Mhm. I think so, yeah.
She has seduced both Otley and Rogers in this. Do you think like she's also seduced maybe Swanscombe or Bunting or anything?
I think she may have.
And Angela.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Angela. Yeah, she definitely seduced I think she
Yeah.
probably did try. Swanscombe, even though you don't really know this until the end, I think is a faithful husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a he's kind of a bland dude. Like when you find out
Mhm.
like he's not involved in any of the shenanigans. He's just, he's just a normal bland developer.
Yeah.
I don't believe for a second that Gerard loved Rogers or Otley, obviously. Do you think there was any kind of emotional connection with Angela?
I don't know. This is one of they had a kind of a time when they were kind of going with the evil killer lesbian trope,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this was one that fell into that timing, and you get this feeling that some of those evil lesbians did love their whoever they were involved with, often their victim. Um, Liz, I think, is way too much of a sociopath to have really cared about Angela. I think Angela probably cared about Liz.
I mean, do you think Angela knew that Liz was the killer? Was Angela is like here's the thing that's kind of left very vague at the end.
Mhm.
Is Angela in on the murders?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. You don't know. Yeah, because she's in on the whole scheme because she's got the money.
Yeah. But then, because I also like, well, if like, because that's the thing is like, is Angela cool that they've murdered Maureen, like her best friend?
Yeah. Yeah.
Gerard has Otley wrapped around her finger from the very beginning. Can I go out for a drink? No. All good things happen to those who wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
She knew when it was time to pull the trigger because she needed that poison.
Yeah.
Um, if Otley had been a better lover, would she have kept framing him?
Oh, yeah. She didn't care.
Do you remember that scene where like Otley comes back in his office and like kind of takes off his shirt and starts like checking his skin out and everything like that?
Hmm.
Do you remember that scene? It's
I
it's 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 very brief in the episode. I
mm,
have no idea why he's doing that.
I don't know unless there was something cut and he had been, like, pulling out jellyfish and got stung.
Maybe
Yeah.
it was a weird thing where he was kind of like checking, like looking at his like skin in the mirror, and
Mhm.
I just was like I don't I have no idea why they were there.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think Liz was trying to accomplish by throwing the glass at Barnaby, the glass of poisoned whiskey?
I don't know. At that point, I guess you're desperate to try anything.
So all of this was set up by venture capitalists. Are they the real killers?
They are humanity's true villains.
And but I kind of love that they literally had paperwork for a criminal conspiracy.
Oh, yeah. Which is
And if you watch The Wire, you're not supposed to do that.
yeah, don't do that. You don't even have to watch The Wire. Just watch Midsummer Murders. Don't put your criminal conspiracy down on paper.
Did everyone get the PowerPoint about the fraud? Did everyone We're going to have a Zoom call later where we lay out lay out the fraud. I kind of liked Angela more when we kind of knew that we didn't know that she was like the bad guy, when she was just sort of like tearing up Swanscombe flyers and giving him the two-finger salute.
Yeah.
What did you think about that house with her house with all the packages?
One wonders what she's doing with mail. If yeah.
Well, I mean, she lives in the post office, so I guess
Yeah.
that's like where you keep all that. I was like, man, that sucks if you have to keep all that in your living room. Also, why isn't anyone picking up their mail?
Yeah.
How often is she closing this thing?
Yeah. I tried to pick up my package, but the post office was closed again.
You have to come into my living room. I'm good. Then we had Walsh and the local election. Walsh again, sort of. He's keeps trying to like justify his crime.
Yeah.
I did it for a good reason. It's not that bad. It's not like fraud, right? I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're both technically felonies, so.
Yeah.
But that's the question. Do the ends justify the means? He was doing it to try to uncover corruption. He did find corruption.
Mhm.
Does that justify it?
Yeah.
I'm asking you.
I have no idea.
Asking your
Because
opinion.
this is how, it's the eternal question. What is justified in order for a greater good? Where do you draw the line for the greater good? I don't know.
Well, what crime would you tolerate from your elected official? Right?
Yeah, I don't
I mean, that's
know.
a
Yeah.
legitimate question. Like
Yeah.
it's like, especially nowadays, it's like I think it's people seem to be much more tolerant of people doing bad stuff if it's on your side.
Yeah, that is true. Um, and, there are definitely things that I would not tolerate. I think possibly small, mild larceny might be
Mhm.
acceptable if it exposed something really, 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 really bad.
I would probably look the other way,
Mhm.
and cast the vote for Walsh. If I was a conservationist in this, it would,
Mhm.
I mean, I think I find most politicians to be pretty corrupt on some.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to be you don't get to be like like, and I'm talking like national level. Like you don't get to be you can't run for a major office usually, unless you have buku bucks behind you,
Yeah.
or you're also independently wealthy,
Yeah.
which is I think sort of a detriment to the system.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The fact that our elections are so tied with money
Yeah,
is not a good situation at all.
right. And that system is supposed to be better in the UK, where it's like they've only been like if this is anything like the national politics, it's like they've only been campaigning for 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Unlike our, what, 4 years?
Yep.
People can't.
Ugh.
It's just endless and exhausting and
Although no one's announced that they're running for anything yet. I thought Walsh was the better speaker. Frankly, I thought Swanscombe was kind of a not a great candidate. Like not a great like he wasn't charismatic. He wasn't like he was just like, yeah, vote for me if you want to change.
Yeah. It was interesting because of the difference between the two of them. Walsh was very passionate, although was that, and we'll talk about that, you know, was it all just a show on his part, you know?
Yeah.
And Swanscombe, I felt he was I there was in a way more honesty about Swanscombe because
Yeah.
he was just saying, "This is what I believe. I think we need to, get into the 21st century. I we can't stay completely in the past." And that's true of every town. It can't stay completely in the past unless it's a tourist site like, Williamsburg or something. There has to be some progress. And you can't have but, he was not always great at expressing that. He certainly didn't have the vitality that a lot of people want to see in a candidate.
Walsh was a better speaker. Like
Yeah.
he gave like twice we see him give speeches.
Mhm.
The second one I thought was very well done. And
Mhm.
the first one where he says that we have all this evidence, I was just waiting for Barnaby to go, I just questioned you and this is the first I'm hearing about this.
Yeah.
These are the things you should tell the police investigating the murder.
Yeah. Right away.
Yeah, right away. Not stand up in front of try to use it to score political points.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which makes me think that, I think Fiona probably has it nailed. I don't think he's a real conservationist. I think he's using it to achieve a political goal.
Yeah.
And we see it at the end because he's immediately like Swanscomb's like talking to him, and it's clearly like, oh, that development deal's going through.
Oh, yeah.
There's no internet stopping this crap.
Yeah.
Um, he also like again, it was another male character that had was wrapped around the finger of again, murderous lesbian trope.
Mhm.
But Angela did have Walsh sort of in love with her and willing to do whatever she wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, she was kind of leading him, around by the nose, as they say. which makes me think that she, was knee deep in this conspiracy with Liz, and might know have known about the murders.
Yeah. Do you think she learned how to manipulate him from Liz? Did she go to Liz classes?
She may have gone to Liz classes, yeah.
I love that line. It's like, I'm exercising my rights to silence. And Barnaby's response, well, don't exercise it too hard. It ain't what it used to be.
Yeah, we're kind of learning that these days. Yeah.
Yep. Good, good line. So let's touch on Swanscombe and Fiona.
Yeah.
So we find out. So while we thinking they're having an affair, we find out that they're actually half brother and half sister. Although this is Midsummer, one does not preclude the other.
That is true, but I do think that this was a very, non-incestuous relationship.
No, they just really want to spend all that time together.
Well, I think they're, spending some time getting to know each other, talking about, probably his plans for the development.
Yep.
She might be giving him advice on how to reach out to the locals because he's much newer in town and she's been there for her entire life.
Maureen I found very unlikable, and she was saying a lot of rude things, but then she took like which I was fine with, but then she took shots at Swanscomb's parentage at the
Yeah.
beginning. I was
Yeah.
like, that's not cool. That's very much a elitist which thing, which I will say is that her and Walsh were very much elitists.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much
Um,
so, yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of I think that's kind of why I was, outside of the murders, I was much more development mafia. It's just like
Mhm.
they're yeah, they're out there for Bunting actually you would think would be more of a conservationist, but he likes money.
Yeah. I love that yeah, she um was not a likable person that, you're feeling a lot for, but yet she's still the murder victim, and so you realize she didn't really deserve to be, brutally murdered like that.
No. Fiona was a fun character.
Oh, loved her. She's my new idol.
Are you gonna start calling everyone sexy boots?
I am Sexy Boots.
Oh, thank you. Um, what was she trying to do with the pizza guy?
They were getting stoned and maybe having a little fun, who knows?
They again, it's left very unclear. They're just like, I ordered a pizza. So, okay, do you have the munchies and you're just gonna try to do a porn thing, or like, are you selling weed? I couldn't figure out what was going on
Oh,
there,
she
but it
was
was a fun scene.
it was a fun scene, yeah. And, she was I think that they were having fun in, many varied ways.
Uh, probably, probably. Quick corner. We got a little bit of Bullard humor. At one point, he's like, "I should have been a brain surgeon," and I kind of wanted to remind him, I was like, "Dude, just remember, you were the country doctor when this show started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they didn't have a coroner. You just like didn't have anything else to do."
They needed somebody to come in and identify how this person was killed, even though it was pretty
Yeah.
obvious.
Did you notice that they were wearing painter masks?
Yeah.
It was like it jumped out at me, and I was like, I don't. Is that normally what they wear? I don't recall. That's generally what CSIs wear.
Yeah, and this is where they were said started kind of actually wearing a little bit more and they,
Yeah.
suited up for an actual investigation.
Yeah, this is the CSI effect, right? Like
Yeah.
this is where, but it just seemed weird. Just like, are you gonna like do some shellacking?
Well, we learned a lot about masks in 2020, that, so we probably wouldn't have
Yeah.
noticed it before then.
Let's jump into the detective work this
Mhm.
time, and I gotta say, did Barnaby strike you as extra smug this episode?
I think, there's something odd, and I think there it's this is obviously, yeah, this is John Neville's last season, and, so it feels a little weird, especially in this episode.
Yeah.
He's not quite coasting through the role, but he's not as fully committed as he's usually is.
Yes. It's just like he just seemed very smug.
Mhm.
And like there wasn't a real lot of his usual empathy
Mhm.
as Barnaby. It was just
Yeah.
a lot of like quippy liners and
Mhm.
just even when he goes to Garden Day and like he's at Garden Day and is already he's the tie is kind of down,
Mhm.
and it was just as like, well, you are just you just do not care anymore.
Yeah. He doesn't have the scene with a suspect who's not the murderer that you usually get that really allows him to really delve into his character in this
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
Barnaby has always been like Barnaby is always a little cocky, a little,
Mhm.
a little. I'm pretty, not gonna put up with any BS or anything like that. But this time, it just was like, no, he's kind of off out the gate.
Mhm.
He's coming off as smug, and I was like, I don't. This is definitely an off episode for that
Yeah.
performance. But then again, we are like as you said, this like one more and he's out. Like it does have that sort of like I'm already counting the days.
And it is the second to the last episode, and he does have a more meteor role in the next episode, and he may have been doing a lot of prep for that as well.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Um, I found it weird that he was shocked that people were actually insulted by Maureen's insults. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's generally how insults work.
Yeah.
We had another search in this episode with the iffiest of probable causes.
Yeah.
Um, that's I think that's signs of a break-in.
Yeah.
No one's called us or anything like that, so they're just going in.
Yeah. Like, people don't leave their windows open.
I love that Bullard and all those they have to put on the jumpsuits and the gloves and the
Mhm.
masks and all that stuff, and they go in to search Maureen's place. No gloves, no nothing.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
I'm gonna touch everything. Pop, pop,
Yeah.
pop, pop, pop. I really enjoyed that first scene with Jones and Barnaby at Fiona's,
Mhm.
where like we're not the drug squad. They're they he clearly recognizes the smell of marijuana. But when she says that Angela is on the other bus,
Mhm.
and Jones is like, why don't you explain that to him? I totally get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I like that Jones is, like, so cool with everything.
Yes.
That's one of the things I've really, liked that they did with Jones, especially in contrast with Troy, who would have been, appalled,
Yeah.
by everything, is that, this is a modern guy. He knows how things are. He's not offended by anything. He's
Yeah.
impressed by large TVs. And he's just, he's Ben, he's just cool with everything.
I mean, he doesn't get a huge amount to do in this episode. He and Stevens are in it.
Mhm.
And they have to they share like we don't get any of their dynamic. We don't get any of their if their will they won't they vibes like we have in
Mhm.
other episodes. And it does feel like each one is allowed to find one clue.
Yeah. And I felt it was weird that Stevens was so in this so much at the expense of Ben. And I like that they were able, bringing more to her character and stuff, but it just felt odd that she was the one without any explanation of why Jones wasn't the one that was there at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a very weird dynamic.
Mhm.
Um, but there's a little weird. There's like another weird thing where like Jones gives like when he watches Bunting's body being taken away, he has this like
Mhm.
weird look of just like, oh, that's so sad. I'm like, do you even know him?
Yeah. Did you even meet him at any
They
point? Yeah.
did, wasn't he? He was there
Mm.
when they were like when they for the break in.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was a thing of just like he seemed very wistful at that moment
Mhm.
about Bunting's death, and I was like, I had no clue why.
Yeah. And I also thought, and there's some things that I think are actually more the director kind of few missteps, because I think the overreaction when he knocks the glass out of Swanscombe's hand is was a bit too forced.
Oh my god,
All that, yeah.
he almost took Swanscombe off his feet.
And it's like, geez, dial it back a little. And I think that was more just the direction, the director saying,
Yeah,
go into it more, and it's like,
be very
it just felt,
dramatic.
yeah, it felt forced. Yeah.
Yes. So when Jones is putting up the murder board,
Hmm.
where do they get all those headshots? One looked like an actor's headshot. The other just looked like driver's license. Like, where do they get all these headshots? Like, they're then also, all right. We got to use the headshot printer.
Yeah.
Gotta
Yeah.
print these out.
Yeah, you get that with a lot of these shows that do the murder boards, and you wonder where because sometimes it looks like they're just, you know,
Yeah.
cell phone shots that they took at the scene. Some look like driver's license photos, and some looks like the actors' headshots. Yeah.
I would love to know if there's anyone in real life or who knows that in real life, if in real life police take photos of all their suspects involved. Anyone's tangentially involved in this case, take a photo of them, put it
Yeah.
on the board.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let's see. We've got two guys with receding hairlines. We better take pictures so we can keep them straight.
so in the home life, we get a little bit of Joyce, looking for ideas for her
Hmm.
garden day. And then she's really, really into this local election.
Hmm.
And I don't understand why, because she doesn't live there. They don't live there.
Well, yeah, because it was a Pelf uh, specific case. They have they're in Corsten the um for the the counting of the
Yeah.
ballots and everything. And but it's the candidate for that particular part of Midsummer of Pelf.
Oh,
Yeah.
were they in Costin though? Because I thought that was in Pelf. Because like, why would they have a local election and then you have to go all the way to Costin to vote, and then I thought that was still all Pelf.
Well, they have a shot of Corsten Town Hall or City Hall before that they showed that one time. So it seemed like it was almost like a little suburb of Corsten
Yeah,
that but it didn't have its own city hall kind of thing.
yeah. And Joyce, you can't vote in this. Why do you care so bad?
Yeah, you don't live there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So how about our final thoughts on Not in My Backyard?
NIMBY. Um, this is an episode I like a lot, but I don't love because it's been hard to figure out why it just falls short of being a really great episode. It's got the strange, weird murders, but I think there's just something, and I think it might be with the direction is just keeps it from being a great episode. And it might be that Barnaby doesn't have that scene that you really need that connects him with the case and with the suspects, and but it just falls a little short.
I think it's like it's average episode. It's not,
Mhm.
and I think the problem is that they make kind of Walsh and Maureen and everything like that so pompous, so elitist
Mhm.
that you're actually rooting for the bad guys,
I
right?
don't mind rooting for the bad guys,
I
but,
don't
yeah.
mind either, but it is a thing of just is like, oh, they're actually all really bad guys, but the people I guess we're supposed to kind of like the kind of the good guys are not
Mhm.
great either. So you end up with no
Yeah.
one you really kind of like. The catch in this is like there's no one you really like. Fiona
Yeah.
is the closest, and we don't get a ton of her.
Yeah.
So I don't really care about who's getting murdered, and I don't really, I don't like any of them. So there's no
Mhm.
that's for me is just like, yeah, no one I
Mm.
really care about in this episode.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and Fiona's never a serious suspect either.
she's way too stoned to commit any murders.
Yeah, yeah. And it's got the fun, it's got the weird. It's lacking, I think, heart.
Yeah,
And I think that's what really separates the really, really great episodes
yeah.
is that there is heart at the center of it. It goes beyond the murders, and this one just lacks that heart.
It does feel a little bit more like this. Like we joked at the beginning, like, yeah, this is back when they were doing like 8 episodes, 9 episodes
Mhm.
of like of some of these seasons, and it's like, yeah, that some of these are going to be not ready, and they still have to get done.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
you've got they do what 4 or 5 episodes a season now, and it's like
Yeah.
they have plenty of time to write
Mhm.
because they're basically writing and shooting a hour and a half movie.
Yeah.
So they're doing like at this point they were doing like 8 hour-and-a-half movies a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And they just don't like not everything is going to be up to snuff.
Mhm.
So, and that's sort of the truth about like TV, back when it was like 22 episodes. It was like there's a lot of filler.
Yeah.
There's a lot of filler.
Yeah.
There's a lot of not a lot of great not every episode's going to be great because you have it's at that point it's about the churn as opposed
Mhm.
to the quality. Now we live in a world where we
Mhm.
kind of expect a bit more from our TV shows. We expect more because it's like you only get 10 of them,
Yeah.
10 episodes, and then it takes them a year to do that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, this just felt to me like we need 8 episodes. They
Mhm.
don't all have to be great. We're just gonna have like an average one, and that it just
Yeah.
I think it was sort of that feeling of like I think in some ways they were all just kind of waiting for the next one where Barnaby was going to be the last Barnaby,
Mhm.
and then they edited out that scene for
Yeah.
Great Quits half the time.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, when I because as you know, I keep a grid so that we can keep track of which ones we've done, and my mnemonic on this is death by modern house, death by sliding door, and it's it, there. Even my mnemonic is all about the mechanics of it. It's
Yeah,
not about the people, the characters in it.
and I also think that just the grisliness of the deaths
Hmm.
make it seem just odd. It's just
Yeah.
it's not bad. It's
No,
just
yeah, no. In fact, I like I said, I like it.
yeah.
I don't love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. It's fine. It's not what I would
Yeah.
hand anyone to like. If you want to watch, like, if I wanted someone to get hooked on the show, I would not give them this episode.
No. No.
That's everything we wanted to talk about. If you have anything you want to discuss about Not in My Backyard or Midsummer Murders, please feel free to email us at welcometomidsomer@gmail.com. If you want us to use the email in the show, just say so in your email, like this person that sent us an email. Eileen has not seen this, so let me read this for Eileen. This is from a Tina Marshall. Hi, Eileen and Eric. Just wanted to thank you for your amazing podcast. I am a huge Midsummer Murders fan. Fact. And have just discovered your show. I work from home in IT support and have developed a naughty habit of having the TV on in the background while I work and have Midsummer Murders on all day. Bless. Uh, Tina, I got the TV on in the background all day too. Feel ya.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine is Murder She Wrote, by the way.
I'm falling in love with different episodes all the time, but my favorite episodes are The House in the Woods, Hidden Depths, and Country Matters. We've done 2 of those.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think you've done a podcast show on House in the Woods yet, and I hope you will be able to do this one day. We'll get there. We are going to get to them
Yeah.
all. I promise.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely, because that one's a really good one.
By the way, as you both love Ben Jones, we do. You may enjoy a cult British show Jason Hughes was in named This Life. I think I've heard of this, but I don't think I've ever
Mm.
seen it. You?
Gonna have to. I have not. I've got to check that out now.
Thank you again for your amazing work and for making dog walks and my working day more enjoyable. Love, Tina. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you very much, Tina. I'm so glad you wrote to us and said all those very nice things. Sometimes we feel like we're doing this for each other, which we enjoy doing it and everything. But it's nice to know that others are really enjoying this.
Yes, and I also listen to podcasts when I walk my dog. So again, just if you want to be like Tina, send us an email at welcometomidsomer@gmail.com. You can also find us at Welcome to Midsummer on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Follow us in all these places. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to us or rating and reviewing us on iTunes and Spotify. That really, or on your podcast app of your choosing. It really helps people find us. Tell all your friends about us. We're going to be back soon, and we hope you will join us again. And as we take the road out of Midsummer, we want to thank you for listening and remind you that in Midsummer, electric sliding doors can be murder.
And usually are.
Welcome to Midsummer is produced by Eric Buscher and Eileen Becker. All clips in this podcast are used in compliance with the U.S. Copyrights Act Fair Use Exception for criticism and commentary. Our logo and podcast art was designed by Smeedrai. Theme music is by the infamous Space.